Good afternoon, good evening. Newsreader Emma is here. Welcome to the ADHD Reframe Project podcast with me, host Emma Craven, and today I am joined by Sue. Sue, would you like to introduce yourself? Sorry.
Hi, thanks for the intro, Emma. I love Newsreader Emma. Yeah, and we tried our best there to put on our newsreader masks, and I think we
did
really well. I think we did really well.
Yeah. We've known each other for about 40 minutes, I think, or 35 minutes, and already you feel like a long-lost best friend that I didn't know that I had. So, sorry, listeners, but yeah, literally, I was trying to be sensible, and I don't do sensible. So anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
I'm Sue Conboy. I am a chameleon. I think I've described myself as before. I can fit into pretty much most spaces and I can leave most spaces quite quickly. I've done all sorts of things throughout my life. The main one is I was a police officer for 20 years. I left medical retirement, PTSD, didn't want to leave, but eventually did. Went back a few years later as a trainer for new police recruits. And that's when I found out about ADHD and neurodiversity as a whole, umbrella. And I tried to go through the diagnosis process. It was actually the forced medical officer that suggested it. He'd also suggested that I look into perimenopause. And when I went through my GP, it took me weeks complete the paperwork, and I think most people understand that. And when I completed it and finally sent it off, 3 weeks later, they came back and said, "You haven't sent us all the paperwork."
Oh.
So I'm going through everything and I'm looking. Then when I find out, actually, I had completed everything, but they hadn't sent me all of the pages. There were 13 pages. They'd only sent me 7. So they sent me 9 pages instead of the 13. So I followed that up. Then they sent me 11 pages. Then eventually I got the 13 pages, but they said, "You need to complete this within a week, otherwise we're taking you off our records."
Oh my goodness me.
I gave up. Because, the more I looked into it, the more I just thought, do I really need a diagnosis for what is obvious to me and obvious to a lot of other people, especially medical professionals and other therapists, etc. So I am an undiagnosed ADHD, and sometimes I've felt that people will turn their nose up at me because I haven't gone through a diagnosis and that I'm making it up. However, as the portfolio of equality, diversity and inclusion, whilst I was training the police, became my project. I was told to deal with that and told to redesign it. I actually did redesign it, which means that I know quite a bit and I know a lot in depth. And so under the Equality Act, I know I don't need a diagnosis. And I know that employers have to be aware of the disability. I don't like coming under the disability banner, but we do. And at least we've got something where we are protected. So other than that, this is a very long intro. Sorry, everybody.
No, please keep going. It's fine. Please.
Other than that, I run arts and crafts retreats. I am an advanced practitioner in transformational coaching, focusing on neurodivergent leaders, as well as small business owners. And I'm just currently studying my master's. I run the Blue Light Neurodiversity Project. I've co-founded that with another person who was a police officer, Carl. I'm also, I told you just now, Emma, I am a museum inspirer.
I love that. I've never met a museum inspirer until this morning.
So, and for those of you that don't know what a museum inspirer does, when you were at school about 7 or 8 years old and you were taken to the local museum, you probably met somebody who dressed up or told you stories. Well, that's me.
Uh,
I think it's brilliant.
I mean, talk about getting in touch with your inner child. I think that's great. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
just
And it's a nice thing. I love young minds. I love seeing children learn. I love, you know, when their eyes sparkle and they get excited about something and they bring their own story into the narrative and, they start imagining. And yeah, I love to see that, it's nice.
honestly, I think that's great because I think that, as we're late doesn't matter. Look, I'm just going to call us late diagnosed. I know you've just obviously shared that you're not diagnosed, but we've been diagnosed later in life. Or we've found out later in life, let's say. So then that makes you a little bit more comfortable. Like, it doesn't matter to me if you're diagnosed or not, whether you're medicated or not. I don't care. I just like talking to people that have got ADHD about ADHD. So whether you're diagnosed or not, it's just if someone's got a problem with someone not being diagnosed, then I don't want to hear that because I think that everyone's experiences are valid.
Yeah.
And obviously this is a safe space. I don't know this is a video recording, but this is also a safe space. And I like to try and make everyone welcome and comfortable. So, and, if we think about, what we went through as children, and meeting a museum inspirer would have been like, literally like, just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you as a child, it's somebody new, it's somebody out of your network of who you learn from. And, I used to teach, I've forgotten the doctor's name now, you'll have to forgive me, perimenopause gone. But there are levels that you start defining who you are as a person. And so from birth to about 4 or 5, you're defined by the immediate people around you, which is your immediate family and those that come to visit regularly. From then, you are defined by the children that you meet at school. And so you start to test things, you start to, try things out, you go into different clubs. So you start to see from different perspectives, and then you move up and at sort of 11 to 16 is when most of us have gone to senior school and our network has really, really moved out. And so we're again trying on those new clothes, we're trying new styles, we're trying new ways of thinking, we're listening to new people. So, and then by the time we've hit 21, we've kind of worked out our identity. And this is a theory, like I say, of a psychologist, but the only time we start to change or challenge our identity is when there's a significant change to our normal. And I say normal in inverted commas because normal can mean anything to a lot of people. So whatever our daily life looks like, whatever our routines are. And so it becomes, when you have a child or you get married or you get a new job or there's some sort of tragedy that occurs, that's when you start to really define who you might be. And so for me, growing up as a child and being told that I'm too much, that I was noisy, that I didn't know when to stop, that I couldn't control myself, that I needed to just shut up and listen, and I needed to stop daydreaming and blah, 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 and all of those things. So when it was the false medical officer that suggested I look into ADHD, and perimenopause at the same time, that's when I had that significant change in my life again. That's when I started to go, okay, so the person I've believed that I am through all of this time, there's now an opportunity for me to look outside and go, well, actually, who am I? And I said to you just now, Emma, I spent 20 plus years in the police and I don't remember half of it now, most of it. There are little things, there are little jobs, there are, when I'm traveling around, things trigger my brain. But actually who I was as a person, I don't know. I know I survived, and I know that I enjoyed some of my job, and I know that I enjoyed the dopamine hits, and I know I enjoyed, the emergency side of it, the get up and go, the make those quick
Adrenaline, yeah.
yeah, those adrenaline rushes. Um, but actually, I don't remember a lot of it, and I think that that's because I've now had this significant change as an adult.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I am amazing in a crisis.
Oh yeah,
But so I would probably have made a good, if I'd have ever thought about it, a good first responder, let's say, because I'm great at crisis management, but it's the tiny little things that trip me up every day, isn't it? That kind of you get lost in that. Like I forgot to put page numbers on my essay before I submitted it. This was a few years ago now, but that plagued me for months.
yeah,
I kind of learned how to do. Eventually, learned how to do it after a year. It was so simple, but you give me a massive crisis,
it's
well,
not.
it's not for us, no, because
No,
the instructions I was being given were just I'm like, I can't follow, non-ADHD instructions. You can't give me verbal instructions 'cause, like, my brain can't cope and just automatically switches off, but, yeah, so maybe you just when you were still working as a police officer, you're just fueled by adrenaline all the time
yeah,
and obviously, don't underestimate, like, just that. You
yeah.
must have been burnt out.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was huge burnout, and there was times where I didn't even realize I was burnt out, but I was
Yeah.
just functioning, just kept going, just kept doing it. Because even though I worked shifts really, really worked for me. I'd have those late mornings in bed. I'd have staying up all night. I'd have several days off where I could just crash out. And so shift work actually really worked. And what I started to notice,
Mm.
like I say, when I went back into training, is I started to notice that the student officers that are coming through now were much more able to listen to themselves, and they were able to identify, this spikes my dopamine, this drags me down. And so, you know, I started to be able to look around at the colleagues I worked with, and I was able to see that actually a lot more of them are neurodivergent than they probably realize. Now, I cannot diagnose, and I'm not diagnosing anyone, but you can see traits when you
Yeah.
start to teach it, when you live it yourself, when you associate with other people, you can see traits. So I am not saying in any way, shape, or form that every single officer or every single first responder in every single emergency service is neurodivergent, but I am saying there's a higher proportionality of it, and you don't realize because you're in amongst the similar people. And I think that's really important to recognize, especially in those high pressure roles, is what is it that's actually keeping your energy up? What's keeping that impact for energy motivated? And I know I'm waffling on loads of different topics here.
No,
Brain is doing 10 million things.
keep going, it's fine. Perfect.
What I also recognized is, a lot of, especially, and I'm talking obviously from a police perspective, a lot of the people that I would meet probably didn't like the police. And so, there would be a lot of abuse thrown, and a lot of words, and a lot of things that I heard towards me and towards colleagues was, oh, you were probably bullied as a kid, so now you're out there bullying other people. And actually, when I reflect back on that as a person who identifies as having ADHD, yeah, yeah, I was bullied. I had a traumatic childhood, and I want to do good. So it's not that I want to deal with the bullies, it's that I actually wanted to do good as a result of how I was brought up. But I didn't recognize that at the time. Um, I'll tell you, I got asked, what's the most ADHD thing you've ever done?
Go on.
I joined the police out of a £5 bet that I lost.
I know. You messaged that to me in an email. That was hilarious. I was just like, yeah, I like this woman. It's just. And then you spent 20 years being a police officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before that, I was a volunteer. I was a special police officer for about 4 or 5 years. So yeah, so 25 plus years in the service. And it was out of a £5 bet that I lost. Now, if that doesn't scream, there's something different here, then I don't know what.
I just snorted everywhere when I started.
Oh, can I introduce my friend?
Yes, I think you need to introduce your friend. Yes, people are going to think that we're a bit weird, but we are very weird and we like it. So
Currently
please, yeah.
stroking my friend.
Okay, newsreader Emma is back.
For those of you that do watch this on video, I'm going to introduce my friend to you. And look. It's got a smiley face and it's got 2 little black eyes and a little triangle nose. And
Meet Sloth.
It's a sloth. Look. And Sloth is a weighted teddy bear.
It's a weighted teddy bear for those of you that couldn't understand that because Sue was turned away from the camera and the microphone. Yes, it's a sloth weighted teddy bear that gives you a hug.
It does. It gives you the best hugs ever. And so I've got its arms wrapped around my neck at the moment. And look, hands free. I'm not holding on to it. And so it's my back. And so, yeah, it's very tactile. So I found this the other day, well, a few weeks ago. It took a while to turn up. But now, I can just have a hug. I love just have a hug. But what was happening there, and the reason I needed to bring it in is because I recognized that I was stroking it because obviously, I need to be doing something with my hands, but I was actually rocking backwards. So I kind of suddenly had this realization that that I needed to justify what I was doing because
no one could see you stroking it though.
Nobody can see me stroking my sock.
I don't know what's happened this morning, but the wheels have completely and utterly fell off. Literally. Welcome to the madhouse. We're going to be in the corner, like with the straitjacket on soon, rocking and dribbling.
Yeah, so the rocking is part of me stimming. It's I'm from the sloth and rocking.
And I'm not going to edit this bit out either because this is TV. This is podcast gold. This is like how to understand ADHD women in 1 hour episode of a podcast.
And
hashtag be more like us. And life is more fun.
Do as a single woman, I've said to you before, Emma, I'm happy being single. I'm happy being on my own, but I actually do get lonely sometimes, and I really just would love some company. So the sloth occasionally just gives me the hug that I need until I can find a partner that wants to cope with the ADHD in me and not try to change me, but actually appreciate me for who I am. And so until that day arrives, Sloth is here.
So if there are any eligible bachelors that are listening or watching this episode, Stu is available. She needs a good man though, not a bad boy, a good man. She's a very nice lady once you get past the craziness. That's what people have said about me in the past. And you will definitely be entertained on a minute-to-minute basis. She's going to put that on her dating profile.
I did not realise that I was coming on a dating podcast. oh, so anyway, yeah, I don't have a dating profile because I came off of all of those things. So,
Oh, I've just made you one.
yeah.
I've just made you one. But that was a joke. But she's a very nice lady. So if you are an eligible bachelor, then yeah, I can put you in contact with Sue. But if you hurt her, then I'll have to hurt you. So I don't know what's happened today.
See, this is why we tried the newsreader, Emma, at the beginning, was because, we'd been falling apart already. So we were trying to, we genuinely tried to bring a little bit of professionalism without being.
For about a minute.
we tried, and I'm sorry, and please don't.
No, don't be sorry. We don't need to apologise.
Well, no, I'm going to be sorry because I don't want people to stop following you because there's this cackling from these two women. So please love Emma. I love Emma, and you gotta keep following. Even if you're not getting anything from this podcast right now, I promise we've had some good discussions.
Yes,
anyway.
we have.
I think RSD started kicking in a lot there, didn't it? It's like, oh my god, what people going to think?
Yeah. Yeah.
RSD.
Listen, I like people to be authentic, and this is about as authentic as you can get for two ADHD women. So yeah, I welcome the authenticity.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah. So
if you can't laugh at yourself, then what left in the world have we got? Like, if you can't take the mickey out of yourself, then
exactly, and it's how I get through a lot of things. It's how I cope with a lot of things. It's how I deal, and I think laughter cheers everybody up as well. And I'm quite happy. I'll dance around my kitchen and around my dining room, and usually to something like Chesney Hawkes.
I am the one and only. Yes, I can't sing to save my life. If my life depended on it, I would be dead quickly because I can't sing. But just because I can't sing doesn't mean to say that I don't sing.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I say. I can't sing. I can sing, but other people's ears don't like it.
Exactly. So, Chesney Hawkes, funnily enough, that song is on my studying playlist when I'm academic writing. Chesney Hawkes is one of the records or people that's on my studying list because it just, it just makes you feel like happy.
Yeah, I love
me feel happy.
I've seen Chesney in concert about 5 or 6 times now, and most recently he which was,
I'm laughing. I don't even know what you're going to say, but you're laughing.
Well, his album, one of his key phrases from his album is, his new album is called "Smash It to Pieces." And there's a song that goes with it. And in my head right now, I'm singing that song along with and everything.
Yes, that's going to run through my head for the rest of the year. Thank you very much, Sue.
Smash it to pieces.
My partner sent me a video of that, and I was like, oh my God. And literally, it was just like over and over again on repeat.
Right.
Yeah, honestly, I was like, oh.
Well,
yeah.
One of his so he obviously has merchandise, and I've got an I Heart Chesney sweatshirt, and I bought his tote bag, Smash It to Pieces, but I also bought his thong underwear that's got Smash It to Pieces on the front.
Were they used?
No, they're brand new. Of course they're brand new.
believe I just said that. Hang on. You've got underpants with Disney. Smash it. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Literally. I'm not apologising to any listeners or watchers. Welcome to me and Sue and the mentality of a 5-year-old.
so
Her claim to fame is she's got Chesney Hawkes underwear that says smash.
yeah. So what I did at the last concert that I went to is I I had my wide leg jeans on and I had my I Heart Chesney sweatshirt on already because I'd bought that previously. And these pants, they looked like they were going to fit a Barbie doll, and I mean a physical, a toy doll. Anyway, the lady said to me, "No, I think they'll fit you." And so I went to my friends, and I put them on over the top of my jeans. And
I knew you were going to say that.
I ran back to the merch store going, look! I hadn't had a drink at this point, I just hastened to add. And then she's taking lots of photos and videos and saying, "I think Chesney might use this in some of his promotional stuff." She said, "We tried to convince him to do the pants that said, 'I heart Chesney.' And, but he decided, no, he wanted smash it to pieces on the front of the pants."
He's clearly got a sense of humour then. Yeah.
I love him even more. I also love Dolly Parton, but that's completely sidetracked.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
do you know what, Emma? I'd written down 3 things that I was going to talk about in this podcast.
Go on, tell me what your 3 things are.
Well, it was about recognizing neurodivergent traits in high pressure careers. It was about the strengths and challenges of ADHD type traits in policing and leadership. And it was about how organizations and individuals can create supportive environments. But actually, we've digressed so much with sloths and Chesney Hawks and smash into pieces pants that I'm like, just... So, I was trying to stay on track and make sure that your viewers and listeners had something beneficial to take away from this. And now I'm kind of going, oh.
They have. They've got the raw, unadulterated, animated sense of humour to take away with them. So,
I'm kind of hoping that your next guest brings some stability, and...
No, but I mean, yes, stability is nice, but yeah, this for me is fun, basically. So it's just I mean,
reframed, isn't it?
We are reframed and unmasked. So what has kind of led us? Let's kind of try and bring it back onto a sensible point, or not. So I wonder what your thoughts are on why we have got to the point where we just don't care, we just unmasking and we're just ourselves. And what has that looked like for you? So your unmasking journey, because mine's been 2 steps forward and 10 back. And I still mask, obviously, in can't turn up as the person that I am or we are today in every environment, can we, or everything that we do. But I wondered, for me now, I just don't really, I do care, but I try not to care if I'm a bit bonkers or if I laugh or if I'm very animated and lighthearted and stuff. I like to inject humour into everything that I do, but obviously not everyone understands my very dark sense of humour, or they look at me as though to say, this woman is absolutely bonkers, like...
Stay away.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So, I said about 12 different things there and went off on a tangent, but I wonder, what has led you to be turning up as yourself today?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, and I appreciate you asking it. It's obviously getting my brain triggering again, which is quite nice. So for me, it was It was a combination of a couple of things. So my retirement from the police wasn't what I wanted. And actually the processes I went through with that, it felt like I was being put on a disciplinary, that I was about to lose my entire life, that, I was being judged left, right, and center. And
Okay.
so when I left the police in 2020, it was mid lockdown. Um, my identity, I'd only had 28 days notice that I was leaving. So
Wow.
my identity of the last 20 plus years was being stripped from me, and I had no preparation. There was no support. There was nothing like that. So I ended up in mid lockdown, living on my own, not being able to see friends. Family don't live close by. So I had no, I forget the terminology we used at the time, a pod or a cell. I had no person that I could go and connect with. So I was on my own a lot. And then, of course, we had the um, the Black Lives Matter movement, and a lot of unrest and things happening there. Now, for my brain at the time, which was um, in the height of PTSD, this just collapsed me, and I'm under the table screaming, believing that I'm going to be attacked in my own home. Because I'm on my own, I had no choice but to work through it by myself. And I had to find some strength. I started to run a few businesses, and what I needed was to, or I felt I needed, was some strength in, what's the word? I've forgotten what, credibility. I needed credibility to show that I could teach, because I was running the arts and crafts retreats. I was teaching arts and crafts online. I was doing other things. But somebody had questioned me a few years ago and made me, feel that I was inadequate. So I went on a mission to find a way of becoming a qualified trainer. As it so happened, a teaching role came up. So whilst I was there, I'd spoken to my sergeant at the time and said, listen, I now know how to handle myself. If I become overwhelmed, I need to be able to have the freedom to just be able to walk away. Don't chase me. Don't do this. If I become emotional, don't see the tears, listen to the words, because I would still be trying to communicate what I'm actually thinking. So to try to ignore the emotion. Anyway, that worked to a certain extent, but I ended up getting sent back to the force medical officer for depression, anxiety, all those co-existing conditions that a lot of us have to also contend with. So when I spoke to the FMO, he'd said to me, Sue, I need you to look at ADHD. I need you to look at perimenopause. So I went away and did that. But what it actually made me realize is I reflected back on my career. I'd reflected back on, well, how did I cope? What was this masking all about? Because that was a new phrase to me. What I reflected on there were several times. So I'd been moved from frontline for a few years and put into an office environment, and that didn't suit me. I was still working shifts, but it didn't suit me. But what I'd end up doing is I'd end up having conversations with colleagues. One of them was with a different sergeant, and we were having a conversation about breakdancing. And he said, can you do the worm or the caterpillar? That movement where you
I
go.
don't know why I'm moving my head up and down as you're doing that.
Yeah. And I said, no, I can't do the worm or the caterpillar, but I can do the slug. And with that, I threw myself on the floor and just started writhing around. Right? And then got up as if nothing happened. Because in my head, that made sense to demonstrate that I could do a slug. And then on another occasion, I was sat there. Most of my shift had gone home. And at this time, I'm in the control room. So I'm where everybody's taking the phone calls, the 999s, the 101s, etc. And they're a different team to what I was working on. And I was the only one in my team, but it's a big open plan office. And I'd been left on my own. Earlier in the day, I'd been to a barbecue at my brother's and come away with a plate of food because I was like, yeah, I'll eat that during the night. Anyway, I finished eating the food and and then I realized that there was this tin foil and there was a lot of it. And so I'm, being having a little bit of training in millinery, which is hat making, I decided that I was going to make myself a tinfoil hat, complete with an antennae, right? So
And why wouldn't you want to do that? Why wouldn't you want to make yourself a tin hat out of foil, out of tin foil?
I'm sat there, the night's boss comes in, and she looks at me and she's like, are you all right, Sue? Bearing in mind, I'm sat on my own, and I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Forgot that I had this tinfoil hat on. And everybody else down the other open plan office was just like, oh, that's Sue. And so I sat there with this tinfoil hat on, and she's like, are you sure you're all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Why? And she said, well, why are you wearing the hat? And I went, oh, it's to keep the mad people out.
Oh, the mad people in.
She walked off. And an hour later, she came back and sent me home. She thought that I was having a true breakdown. And I was like, no, I'm actually fine. I'm totally fine. So after I'd been told to look in and I'd started doing my research on ADHD, I'd started looking at different types of neurodiversity as well. I'd started looking at all of these things. When I reflected back, I recognized that actually the front line had kept my dopamine hits. And when I was put in the office, those were my little outlets. Those were the obvious signs. But because neurodiversity wasn't talked about, it wasn't known about, and certainly wasn't talked about in women, it was only in naughty boys from school. It was never picked up on, but it was me being told that you're disruptive. Colleagues don't like working with you. Line managers don't know how to manage you. So I'd started to reflect on that. And then I had to look at, well, actually, who am I? Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? And so slowly I started to let that mask drop. And I realized that all the times that people had called me weird and crazy were actually when my mask had slipped.
Yeah.
And so I just started to get to the point of going, you know what? It's exhausting keeping this mask on. And when you come into perimenopause as a female, it's so much harder. And actually, all of the traits and symptoms that I recognize in myself that are potentially ADHD have actually heightened.
Yeah.
And I don't have the energy anymore. I don't have the energy to keep this mask up. Don't get me wrong, I can put the mask up if I need to. So when I'm coaching, I can put the mask up. But it's not a mask that is to protect me. It's a mask to respect somebody else. It's a mask that says, I am with you. I'm keeping this bit of me intact so that I can be present for you. And so when I'm doing things like that, I'm okay with wearing a mask at that time because it's appropriate. It's not me trying to hide anymore. And so my journey has been, like you say, 2 steps forward, 10 steps back, but there's been a heck of a lot of reflection and there's been a lot of confusion. There's been a lot of crying. There's been a lot of anger. I've looked back and I haven't felt as much as other people that I've spoken to when they say, if only this had been picked up earlier, I could have been so much better. I could have been this. If it had been picked up as a child, I don't feel that because I'm quite happy with who I am, and who I am has come from everything that I've experienced in life. It's come from the traumas, and it's come from the good times, and it's come from the reflections, and it's come from the forward thinking. So, I haven't felt that anger in that way, but I do feel frustration when I try to talk to certain family members, for example, and they say, well, not everything is ADHD. And I'm
Mm.
like, you're absolutely right. It isn't, but please don't
But
dismiss me.
yeah,
Don't dismiss me. And so, in those circumstances, I put on a mask again and I just don't talk. They don't want to hear it. And that's entirely up to them. I'm not going to force other people to listen to me. They have a choice as to whether they want to listen and whether they want to understand me. And if they do, they will ask the questions. And if they don't, and I've tried to approach it, then we're okay. They can
yeah,
be okay and I can be okay. And, so together there's always that balance. So, yeah, the journey has been hard and it's still hard. This whole perimenopausal, I'm going to say it's shit.
minefield. Yeah,
It's just hard work. My energy is drained constantly. I don't want to get up out of bed. I feel that I am sluggish sometimes. I feel that it's really hard to concentrate on one or two things. I find that I'm forgetting things all the time. And that combined then with ADHD is just exacerbated. I've got a wonderful friend who seems to just be gliding through everything. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh. And she's like, well, I don't get any of that. But she's so understanding or tries to be understanding. She will say, I don't get it, but I am listening to what you're saying. So yeah, it's an interesting question. It's been hard. I take supplements. So the biggest change for me has been collagen, taking collagen every day. My hair has started to grow back and get a little bit thicker, and the cortisol belly
oh,
has
I've got,
gone
yeah,
because,
tick, yeah,
yeah, the
tick,
cortisol
yeah,
belly has gone because I have changed my diet. So I'm now gluten and dairy free. And I've stuck to that for over a year now. And it has made a huge difference. Took a lot of getting used to with the taste buds, but once I'd committed, I'd
yeah,
committed. And it's not I'm going on a diet. It is, well, this is what I eat.
yeah,
So it's, a complete different change of mind for me. So I didn't struggle with that. And I know other people have. I take some magnesium, and I take, I think it's D3 and K12 or something. Um, and if I took these little bits away, I also did some hair samples and blood samples to find out where my levels were with vitamins, minerals, and things like that. And so I started to understand a bit more about my body, which has really helped. I would still like to be able to try ADHD medication, because I would like to be able to just for a few hours silence the I am the one and only. I'd love to be able to silence that just to be able to focus and to get on with something. And don't get me wrong, hyperfocus is brilliant when it happens, but I'm not in control of when it happens.
yeah,
And when it does happen, it happened yesterday. And I spent 10 hours at this computer, during which time I only drank one bottle of water and I completely forgot to eat. Um, and so, I can't control that. And it would be nice to, or I think it would be nice because I've never tried it, to just have a little bit of quiet. But I can't be asked to complete the paperwork. And the paperwork is so not ADHD friendly. It's not dyslexia friendly. It's not stress friendly. It's not anxiety friendly. It's a complete shambles, but it's what we've got at the moment. And I'm not willing to go through it again. So, yeah, so I've got to learn to cope with me.
send the paperwork to me and I'll fill it out. I can literally do anything for anyone else, but when it
Mm,
comes to my personal stuff, it's you know, it's like for me, like I need that accountability. And if it's for someone else, then it gets done in 5 minutes. If it's for
Yeah.
me, I can wait 5 years before. Like I need to go and get my eyes tested again because, you know, my glasses are just not right anymore, and I just keep putting it off, keep forgetting, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll sort that out tomorrow. Manana
Yeah.
is always. But if it was something for anyone else, it'd just get done straight away. So
Yeah.
I regularly say to non-ADHD people, like, we are a walking, talking contradiction. Like
Absolutely.
literally, I can't cope with people talking fast, but I tangent and give a life story. I can't cope with being stuck in a traffic jam because we're not moving, but yeah, and it's like, you know, I can't give you a straight yes or no answer because it's physically and mentally and emotionally impossible. If you
Yeah.
ask me a question, I have to give you the backstory. I
Yeah.
literally cannot just say, I use the story when my daughter was still living at home, and she said, have we got any more cat food? Well, I couldn't explain. I couldn't say to her, no, we haven't. I had to give her like the full backstory of, well, we're waiting until we get, you know, get our next bit of money and blah blah blah, and then this and that, and we went to several supermarkets and they didn't have any, so we didn't get it. Rather than just say, no, we haven't got any more cat food, I just couldn't. And I think just by kind of talking about this stuff and just by opening it up and making myself a little bit vulnerable sometimes, not with everyone, but with my partner, definitely. With the very few friends that I've got that don't have ADHD, most of them do. And most of them are long-term friends that I've known since I was a child or a teenager. Once I kind of started explaining ADHD and my symptoms to my daughter, she understands me a lot better now. No, although she says to me regularly that I'm not neurodivergent, and I'm like, yeah, you are. But she's more autistic than she is ADHD. But she talks about the monologue voice in your brain, and she says to her partner, like, you don't get that, and he's like, no, and I'm like, that's ADHD. I'm sorry to say it, but that's ADHD. And I think because she sees, or she has always seen me like just being openly ADHD, and this is not a bad thing, don't get me wrong, I love the girl to bits, but she is more sensible than I am. So, you know, obviously being a midwife as well, you have to be kind of half sensible to bring babies into the world. But I think she compares me to what her perception is of ADHD. So because she's a lot more sensible than me and probably more grown up than I am, even though I'm twice her age, but, you know, I'm never going to grow up.
We're people.
Yeah, I think there's that comparison. And even my partner's mum has done that with one of her friends, like compared me, because their friend was diagnosed a few years ago. And it's like, I am the blueprint for people in my life. I am the blueprint for ADHD in women. And if you're not like me, then, you know, do you really have ADHD or not? But it kind of links into the masking and the not masking. You know, I would explain that as like we were I hate this saying, but high functioning as women, high functioning women. And I'm like, no, I just knew that I had to do certain things to live my life. So I had to go to work. I had to pay the bills. Well, I didn't have to do these things, but I did. You know, I had to raise my daughter. I had to, you know, blah, blah, blah. And that's not really high functioning because a lot of the time people don't know the cost of what it feels like to work a full-time, even 9 to 5 in an office. I swear our offices, they used to drive me insane. I'd always be up and around and walking, and I just can't sit still for very long. But it's just, yeah, that kind of masking is just, I think for me, I got diagnosed in 2019, and then I started learning more about ADHD, and then I started studying psychology. And then I really, for the last 2 years, have been on a journey of self-discovery, and I've been absolutely obsessed with reading as much everything and anything regarding ADHD and late diagnosis in women. slash adults, but I'm more obviously focused on the women's side of it because of, we are women. And I just think then I started really kind of looking at my unmasking. I had some strength-based coaching from a lady I met through LinkedIn. She offered a grant for people like me that don't have money to pay for coaching, and just focusing on the positives, my strengths, literally it was life-changing. And I say this regularly, and she's going to be a guest on the podcast soon. The woman is just amazing. So shout out to Saskia from Brilliantly Diverse, and I am going to be posting the grant application stuff in a few weeks' time. I think it's coming up, but I'd like to just say that she completely and utterly changed. Like, I found self-acceptance, and I've never really kind of had that before, but it's just by focusing on them, even the top 5 strengths: humour, kindness, compassion, love for learning, curiosity. I just got and I was just like, creativity was another one. I know that's 6 and 7 now I've got up to, I can't count. But it was through that and through, the group sessions, which I didn't really like, because I get really anxious in front of groups of people that I don't know. But I think there was obviously something in me back, and this was a few years ago now, that just wanted to change. I wanted to show up for myself more. I wanted, just to not live with that shame every single day where I felt like I had to, hide certain parts of my personality and stuff. And now I just, I do mask in certain environments because, like you've said, we have to a point. But I also try not to mask as much as I can. And the feedback that I've got a lot of the time is that when the mask is off, that's when people can truly understand the ADHD in us women, and it's quite empowering when you hear that feedback from, other women or people that don't have ADHD and stuff. And I think that we need to nurture that side a lot more, because I think there's growth in turning up as yourself when you feel safe enough to do that in the environments that is acceptable, let's say. And this is one of the environments. Hence why we've talked on a full range of topics and tried to be sensible.
We've managed it occasionally
for about 3 minutes and then gone back to not. But I think when you find someone that you do gel with, and basically we've just been like, I'd never spoken to you before this morning. We spent nearly an hour chatting before we pressed record, and we were laughing within the first 5 minutes, and we've talked about a full range of topics, recorded and before we recorded. And actually I've laughed more with you in the last 2 hours than like dinner. And my partner, I laugh with him a lot because I don't even try and be funny, I just am. He says to me, it's your deliverance. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Like, but it's like, I just think we need to kind of inject some joy into the world, because everything is just so newsreadery.
It can be heavy. It can be really heavy. And, it's wonderful that you're able to recognize your journey as well. There was something you said just now that's actually stuck in my brain. I remember an ex-boyfriend, we were walking along the street, and normally when he was walking, he'd be under his breath reciting Shakespeare, or he'd be humming away or something. And this one time we were walking and he wasn't doing any of those things. And so I turned around and said, "Penny for your thoughts." And he said, "Well, I'm not thinking anything." And I said, "Well, you have to be thinking something. What do you mean you're not thinking anything?" And he's like, "I'm not thinking anything." And I went, So are you thinking something, but you don't want to tell me? And I really felt my stomach go into knots. I felt my chest tighten. I was like, oh my gosh, he hates me. He doesn't want to tell me. He wants to break up with me. Oh my goodness. And we ended up having a full on argument because he was lying to me. In my head, he was lying to me. Now, what I realize is that some people aren't thinking anything.
Yeah.
I didn't know that that existed. I've never known what it's like to not be thinking something. And so when you said, something just now, that triggered in my brain, and it was just like, wow, there is so much to learn. There is so much to try and understand, but not understand it and go, right, that's it. It's that every person's version of that is very different. And so it's understanding that the noises and the activity in my brain is not going to be the same as the noises and activity in your brain, but there are going to be similarities. And that there are, people like my ex who don't have that noise and activity. And then I go, gosh, where do his creative thoughts come from? And then I realized that he didn't have creative thoughts. And, and I would say to him things like, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be really good if we did this in the garden, if we did this, and this would look amazing, and that would look, and he would just do it. Whereas I could think about it, he would be able to interpret it, and he would build it. And it became Susie says, Dave does. He misinterpreted that as me being in control and powerful and stuff. And I'm like, no. I've got the ideas and you create, but I didn't realize he'd misinterpreted that at the time either. And so, it's understanding between the different types of brains, those that are what we term as neurotypical, those that are what we term as neurodiverse, those that don't fit into or don't want to fit into any of those. It's just understanding that we are all very, very different and very unique, and to not try to pigeonhole just because you think you understand one thing about an ADHD brain, or one thing about an ADHD reaction, or one thing about an autistic reaction. Just because you think you know one thing doesn't mean to say you know everything. And for me, that's the greatest learning. I think I told you as well that with my co-founder, we've set up Blue Light Neurodiversity. And these are the types of conversations. We're not doing podcasts or anything in that environment, but we're having these conversations mainly for first response workers, and mainly for those people that either live with or know of or want to support or work with first line responders. And the conversations we're having in there is just amazing as well, just amazing, and able to bring out all of those things. There is a slight mask for me in there because I give, I want people to receive as much information. So I do tend to tone myself down a little bit in there, but it's not, I fully open and I'm sharing constantly in there. But this has been an amazing chat with you to just, move from something that structured in plots into,
mayhem, absolute chaos, funny chaos. And obviously I'll post the links to what you've just talked about in the episode description. So if there are any first responders who would benefit from talking to you or just being able to talk about their experiences, then if that's what I have to offer to our listeners today, then I'm happy with that. So I'm happy to share the links and stuff to what we've talked about. And what you've just talked about as well, because I think that's really important, particularly for bigger kind of organizations or institutions, or specifically that have always necessarily been male dominated. And I don't mean dominated in a bad way. I mean just mainly kind of for the men. I think it's really important for the men to have a voice as well. So if you are a first responder, if you would like to talk about your experiences as a man, like I promise I can be half sensible most of the time, but it's just when I meet people like Sue that I'm not sensible at all. But if you are listening, watching us today, and you would like to reach out and be able to talk about your story, your lived experiences, then please by all means get in contact. But so, what an absolute journey we've gone on into the last 2 hours. I know we've only been recording for an hour, but what a journey! I feel like I've got a new best friend. When can you come back? When can you go?
Whenever you want me, my love. Whenever you want me.
Amazing, honestly. Thank you. I felt a little bit tired and flat in mood until we started talking today, and now I feel like full of the joys of spring, and the brain is firing on all of its cylinders and stuff, and there was still so much that we could unpack.
Oh yeah, because I haven't told you that I'm a workplace needs assessor for neurodiversity, have I?
No, you see? And I'd love to unpack the menopause and perimenopause as well, but unfortunately for today we've run out of time. Yeah. Parenting as a undiagnosed or diagnosed neurodivergent woman is that there's so many things that we could unpack and stuff. So let's so you're probably going to see Sue again, because I'm like, when I meet someone that is my person, then that I just attach myself to them and we become BFFs. So and when I find someone that's as mentally crazy as I am, I also do that as well. I hope that someone today has got a little bit of something out of this podcast episode, even if it's just the fact that we've been laughing, because, we tried to be sensible, but that's the problem. When you meet someone that's your person, then you can't be sensible because you just want to be,
you, don't you? You just want to be authentic, naturally, organic you.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But it's normally a crazy ride. But honestly, Sue, thank you so much for your time. Literally book in and come back and we can unpack some more topics. If you'd like to invite anyone else with you, I'm happy to have like just open dialogue with more than just me and you, or whatever whatever you think would be able to benefit our listeners. Listen, I'm saying it as though you're already in the gang. Like, there's only...
I am in the gang.
You are in the gang, yeah. If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club.
Something goes through my head then. A finger of punch is
just enough to give
the red car and the blue car had a race. Oh, Emma, we need to stop. You need to go and get some food.
We don't need to stop, because this is ADHD gold. This is the thing that I'd like others to know about, that we are all bonkers. We just don't necessarily feel comfortable to be bonkers in front of anyone, but there is a lot of bonkered. I can't even speak anymore. Right. Anyway, so Emma, if any of the I'm going to be
me. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for letting me reach out as a complete and utter stranger, and thank you for becoming a friend. And I do hope that your listeners have enjoyed listening to us. So thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you for your time. It's been a whole just over 2 hours now, so I appreciate it. But I do feel like I've found a friend in you. So that's really, and I think that's really important for other women to know as well, that we can find women that we gel with that get us, and we can just be ourselves. And I think that's a really important. I can't even speak anymore. That's like the profound sentence that I'd like to end the listeners on. If you've got any comments about today's episode, please feel free to reach out to me or Sue, and we'll happily take on board the positive feedback. the negative stuff will trigger the RSD and we'll be in anxiety-driven panic for days, weeks, months, years.
Yeah. Hey, you can do that to us because, you know, we're open. We're
Yeah.
open to learning, and just be nice.
Yes. Yeah, just be nice. We like nice feedback, not negative feedback.